Alright, I think that we are pretty much ready. So we're going to click on Messe and we're just going to click on Activate. Now all of the red arrows are now active and we're going to see counterattacks from various locations. We've got the tanks slamming through the deserts. We've got attacks on their mountains with our mountaineer units supported by regular infantry. Oh, no we don't. I need to tell you to attack as well. So these are the mountaineers now supporting Messe's assaults. The green bubbles shows your progress. So green is good. That means you are doing damage to them, whereas red ones are bad. That's them doing damage. Well, it's not damage. It's how likely you are to win the battle. So how do you explain these? We're basically 87% of the way to a victory here. 78% of the way to a victory here. And as long as they're green, they're good. So we're 92% up here. We can see that their organisation is almost shattered just because of the sheer strength of our tanks just blitzing through. The other thing that I should point out are these little shields. This is showing that the enemy divisions cannot actually hit Messe's tank divisions. They have too much armour because there are tanks in those divisions. That means that those units are taking 33% less damage? Or is it 70% less damage? 50% less damage. There we go. So they take 50% less organisation, 50% less strength damage from anything that they're trying to do to us. So having high armour versus your opponent, very useful. And if you notice your opponents are getting that against you, you need anti-tank equipment. So the tanks are pushing through, and the tanks are now using their extra speed to push onto Hurrah down here. Then once they've arrived, we're going to have to give them a new order. Meanwhile, Messe should be sending automatically soon some units to help defend this. But we will actually... Oh no, that's British, that's not ours. Yeah, here we go. We have some reinforcements coming in, which are pushing the attack against this guy. And because he's on low organisation, he's had no time to recover. So we can basically just keep pushing. That's its momentum. Once you broke them for the first time, it's a lot easier to keep breaking them. And we're going to select the tank divisions. We're going to reduce the tank division line. As soon as I can remember which one it is. That one. To just Hurrah. And then we are going to put a spearhead on Addis Ababa. And we're going to say go. So this guy just attacked out of Addis Ababa. We're now attacking back into him. He lost all of his organisation on the assault. And now we're counterattacking. They did send in some reinforcements, but we are defeating them. And the purple... No, the other reds have completed their objective. Actually, no they haven't. Never mind. It's all good. But now the tanks are attacking into the capital, and then once the capital falls, we should win this war. So if we click on the explosion, which is the We Are at War overview, we can see the stats of this particular conflict. So we have lost 684 men in this fight. They've lost 9,000. We have 39 divisions. They have between 9 and 17. I find that this randomization is really bad, and it's almost always exactly in the middle of that number. So they probably have about 12 to 13 divisions, and then precisely 3 factories. This bar is the important one though. That is how close they are to capitulation. The more red, the better. Once they hit 100% capitulation, they surrender. You win the war. If they have other factions, other nations in their faction, then they will be a nation in exile. They will technically continue to fight, but they obviously have no resources or facilities. And all of the territories will surrender to you. If you defeat all of the major powers, which are ones with a gold surround, like we have, the gold border, then you win the war. So, for example, if it's me, Germany and Japan, Romania, Bulgaria and Yugoslavia, Romania, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia are probably minor powers, so they won't have a border like Ethiopia. You can just take them out individually. But the war will continue until Italy, Japan and Germany have been defeated in the Second World War. Obviously, we're not allied to Germany yet, so they're not in our faction. How did I select the units for one front line? Good question. You can just hold down Control and then right-click. And it will select only the units assigned to that front line. You can do the same thing for the arrows. Again, Control, right-click. And it will select only units assigned to that particular order. That's the kind of thing I should be explaining. Thank you. Anyway, the battle for Addis Ababa is almost over. The first unit has already retreated. This is the second unit that was in there. We are almost defeating them. And because these are tanks, we should just go racing in and we'll occupy it. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian war logistics are done, so we're going to move on to industrial efforts now. The way that these focuses work is they cost 1 political power per day to do. So sometimes you don't actually want a focus going. So if you just want to generate lots and lots of political power, because political power is what you spend on these slots, and we'll talk about those in a bit when we actually have enough, you may not want to take a focus. However, I want these extra industry. This is basically 70 political power for 4 factories. That's a really good deal, so I will absolutely take that. Remilitarization of the Rhineland. Germany has stationed troops in the Rhineland territory, close to the French border, in clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. The local population cheered as the German soldiers marched on. While the diplomatic reactions from France and Britain have so far been muted, it is no more than Germans walking into their own backyard, a political commentator in Britain observed. Worrying. So Germany have just decided that these territories can now be remilitarized. They've started moving troops. In fact, I think it might just be that one. Yeah, it's just the Rhineland. So they've started to move troops back into the Rhineland, which is in contravenance of the Treaty of Versailles. So this is Germany saying, okay, we're planning to do stuff. Okay, so we've taken Addis... Oh, no, we haven't. Never mind. We've almost taken it. And as these arrows fill in, that's the progress your units have made to the end point. Or if you just hover over the unit and let the extended tooltip expand, it'll say unit will arrive in this destination in 2 days and 1 hour. Or 10 hours for the tanks. 3, 2, 1, 0. Boom. We're in Addis Ababa. We've taken some extra factories because we've stolen the 2 military factories and 2 civilian factories that were in that province. And Ethiopia is very close to capitulation. They're now on 91%. Taking the capital is almost always a huge deal. And you can tell how much of a deal it is by the number of victory points they're worth. 5 is a fair number. Like Rome is probably worth 10 or maybe even... Oh, nope, that's worth 40. Crikey. Berlin's worth 50. Paris is worth 50. London's worth 50. So taking any of those provinces gives you a lot of victory points. That's a lot of capitulation. Every little square is a victory point. These are also cities, so many of them will be urban environments. Except apparently in France, where none of them are. Which give big penalties to army units, but big bonuses to infantry fighting through them, so terrain has a big impact. But the main thing is the victory points. So like Amiens is worth 5, Dieppe is worth 3, Rouen is worth 5, Le Havre is worth 10. So taking Le Havre is quite a big deal. Paris is a big deal. Orléans is a 15, that's a very big deal. So the more victory points a country loses, the closer they are to capitulation. That can be modified by your war support. So the higher your war support, the more they have to take to capitulate you. So us at 56 is fairly decent, whereas France starts with an extremely low war support, which is why France is pretty easy to capitulate. Unless you leave France for too long, in which case they get rid of their negative modifiers, meaning that their war support can go up. How many units can you see on the border? How do you mean? Yeah, so if you're zoomed out like this, it takes like... It's not an average. Oh, I see what you mean. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which is almost exactly the middle of this. 9 to 12, 9 to 17. Now I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's almost always exactly the number in the middle. Like, I have counted that before. Right, so what do we want to do with these captured military factories? Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Logistics tab. This gives you an overview of all of your equipment. So on the left in this column is how much you're producing or losing every day. And then this column is how much you have in storage. This is the one I tend to look at the most because it will tell me what I'm short on. So right now we have a Shortage of support equipment and a shortage of infantry equipment, but a surplus of motorized light tanks, fighters, close air support, convoys, and artillery. So support equipment tends to be quite expensive. Infantry equipment you just use a lot of because you have a lot of infantry. So I think I'm going to do just that. One more support, one more infantry. Done. And then I also want to take a look at where the other victory points are. So Gondor is one of them. Probably once we take Gondor, the war will be over. So let's, again, select the tank divisions. I'm going to reduce you to just Addis Ababa, and I'm going to say let's spearhead straight through here and just cut them off. You cannot attack into another province when you are being attacked. So at the moment these 4 divisions are attacking Addis Ababa, trying to retake it. Once this fight is over, then these tanks will start to push west, going for that new objective, which will then create a pocket for all the guys in here. Oh, we have a pocket up there. Orders. It's definitely worth like trimming surplus front lines and things like that from time to time. The AI doesn't necessarily have the best AI for determining that type of stuff much of the time. And it looks like you guys have actually finished your objective, so let's draw a new front line. We'll just say that side of the country, go. And that way they'll keep on pushing. We've got 13 days left of supply, or of fuel. Hopefully we can take this before we run out of fuel. I'm not convinced. Although, oh no, we did. And there we go. Ethiopia is now at 100% towards capitulation. We did it before we ran out of fuel. We wait until midnight on the 22nd of March. Boom. And this is the peace deal page. So we can see that Ethiopia is crossed out like this. This means that Ethiopia is up for grabs. We can click on just the state and we'll take the whole state. Or we can drop this down and then just say take all states. And that way we take the whole of Ethiopia. It's claimed Italy is taking Ethiopia. We'll end our turn. Ethiopia turns green. There's nothing else to make demands of, so we're just going to press done. And that's the peace deal done. That was a very simple peace deal because we were the only one in it. When you've finished a war against multiple nations, then the different nations will all have generated a certain amount of points that they can spend on taking various states. And it becomes a bit more of a negotiation as every country takes their slice of the pie, depending on their participation in the war. And there we are. Italy has taken Ethiopia, which does mean that the Triumph in Africa focus branch has now opened for us. But I want to continue down the industrial path, particularly because I want that research slot. And in fact, I want the highways too. I just want it all. I want all of it. Right, so we can start sending forces back home. We can see that Messi's gained 51% towards skilled staff, 30% towards trickster, 57% towards engineer, and 17% towards commando. 75% skill towards level 5. So he gained a lot of experience from that battle. Meanwhile, Visconti gained rather less because he's commanding less soldiers. You do gain a lot more experience the bigger your armies are. So he didn't gain a huge amount. Although he is halfway to level 2, which is good. Okay, so I think I might actually make Visconti into an Alpine specialist. So he's our commando. Do I want to do that? Who was the one that we fired because we merged armies? Sodu. Although actually a bunch of these units are going to need training. So let's group all of them together. Drop them in the army that's training. These guys meanwhile have actually finished. So we're going to drop them into his. And then you lot we can drop into here. So this is going to be Sodu's force. You are going to be responsible for the French border. Again, with an objective going there. I think I might give the cavalry to Messe, so Messe can level up his mechanized and his tank abilities. And then you are going to be responsible for the Yugoslavian front. No, you're going to be responsible for the Libyan front. So right now, we're going to do that. I'm going to press S. And we're going to do another front on that side, and we'll just assign them. So, if you have a front, you need to assign troops to it. You hold down Control and then left-click. If you want to select all the troops on a different front, you just Control right-click. Really helpful hotkeys, those two. So this is going to automatically assign half of them to the Egyptian border, half of them to the Moroccan border, or Tunisian border. And then again, we're going to set lines. I would like to take Suez. I think I'm just going to do that. And on this side, again, Control right-click to make sure we have that one selected, and we're going to say I want the North African front up here. What's probably going to happen is we'll hold position here and push with this side. We may even send Messe's tank divisions into here. In fact, I think I will. Because I really, really want Suez. So, assign something like so. We're going to let Germany deal with France and Poland. We're going to take the Africa front. If you want to get the Spain focus, you have to do Triumph in Africa quite quickly, or the Spanish Civil War ends before we can complete that bit of the tree. True, I'm used to Kaiserreich Civil Wars, which take a long time. Does this ever get bypassed? No, it just gets cancelled, which is bad. It should just have a bypass if the war ends. Because I do want to do that, because it will unlock the Spanish-Italian alliance, Balearic Islands, and then possibly befriending Portugal. Okay, good. The other thing I want to do is select all of my air forces down here. I'm just going to say hold. I'm going to cancel your orders. Which means you're not going to be using our fuel, which means we're going to be actually restoring fuel stockpiles. So now it's saying in 1.3 years we'll have a full stockpile. And I'm fairly happy to just let that go. Okay, so we've just finished our electronic mechanical engineering. So we're going to click on that slot and we're going to go straight for mechanical computing because it increases our research speed. Okay, good. Ah, decisions. Right, I forgot about these. Decisions are another thing which are kind of like focuses. They're one-off, generally, payments. So you can see the political power cost to doing one of these. And then you can hover over the envelope to see what they actually do. So we could, for example, abandon the naval treaty, which means that we leave the London Naval Treaty, which means we can build ships of any size. Or we can cheat on those treaties, which allows us to build slightly bigger ships than are actually allowed. So at the moment, we cannot build the really heavy, for example, battleships, because they're actually illegal. We can build up to 10,000 production cost, whereas upgrading even just to battleship armor, battlecruiser armor, would go way over that. So we can only really build heavy cruisers, light cruisers, destroyers. No carriers, no battleships. Or if we do, they have to be very small. The S key selects half the army, yes. And then we'll just keep an eye on this. So this guy here, he's a green soldier. He has huge penalties to fighting, so we definitely want to train him. When you are creating new divisions, if you deploy them as soon as you can, they will be green. If you let them finish their recruitment period, so if we train a new infantry, we can see here that there's an experience bar. Anything up before you finish this experience bar, they'll be green with that much experience as a green soldier. Once they complete this, you can just straight up deploy them. They'll be released as trained, which is the bars. And then when they're trained, you can train them further in the field, and that's how they become regular. or they can also gain experience just by fighting, as the 3 tank divisions have actually started gaining a little bit of experience. For every level of experience, they have a 25% efficiency bonus. So as a green, they have a minus 50. As a trained, they have a minus 25. As a regular, no bonuses, no penalties. As a seasoned, 25% bonus. And then as veteran, 50% bonus. So the more experience you can get your troops, the better. And you will notice that we are pretty much completely abandoning Ethiopia. That's because Ethiopia is very difficult to defend later in the game. We could leave like a token garrison of just regular infantry to try and hold that region. It could do some damage in the center of Africa against the British, but really the prize is Suez. We want to take Suez because that means that supplies coming from India, Australia, New Zealand, etc., Malaysia have to go all the way around Africa. And if we own ports down here, we can use submarines, we can just cut that off. But it will be much easier if we take Suez and then push south. Maybe we will have a couple of regular soldiers there. Let's cancel you. You know what? Yeah, we're going to train another 12 divisions. So we're just going to... Let's do that more slowly. We're going to train, which adds a new training order. We're then going to add units, so they're all within that order. It doesn't really matter. You can just repeatedly press train. It's ugly and it takes up more space. They will slowly get the equipment they need, and the more equipment they have, the more training they can receive. So if they have half of their equipment, they can only reach half level of training. This will also show as a massive deficit in terms of infantry equipment. This is saying we'll need another 8,000 infantry equipment to make those infantry divisions that we've just queued up. Sindrin, thank you very much for the donation. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. Let me just switch over to Legacy so I can actually read the message. I don't know why this doesn't just text wrap. Like the new version of StreamOBS doesn't text wrap for some reason. In honor of this Italian run, do you know the Ghostbuster catchphrase in Italian? It ain't Alfredo, no ghost. This joke was bad enough. It needs to be processed in the central processing unit, which is what those funds have just gone towards. I am currently trying to save up for a new CPU, which will allow me to stream stuff like this a little bit more efficiently. Hopefully, like my face I know tends to lag quite a lot in the camera. I think that's a CPU issue. I'm not 100% sure though. I tried to fix that and I just couldn't work out why it was happening. It will also allow time to progress faster in these grand strategy games, which allow me to get through more games because I do tend to play a couple of them at speed 5, and it will let me finish rendering videos and things like that sooner, so I won't spend quite as much time doing that and hopefully more time doing more fun stuff. Was that Brittany? No, it's Tanya. It's minus 10, 0, plus 10, not 25. Pretty sure it's in sets of 25. Where are the guys still training? We can find there. Oh, my bad. Trained is the base level. So green is minus 25. We don't have anyone who's green, so we can't check that anymore. And then regular is plus 25. Veteran is plus 50. No, seasoned is plus 50. Regular must be plus 75. Crikey. No, elite is veteran. It's the skull. Right before Tanya's ka-ching, I saw a Britney Spears pic popping up. Shouldn't it be? Oh, it was. I haven't put that there. StreamOBS must have changed their defaults. I don't think I had a picture there. That's really weird. Why it's... huh? Stream? What's happening here? Mordred confirmed Britney fan. Not quite. There is no image. I think this is just Streamlabs having a bit of fun. There's no image assigned to this. Oh, it was a GIF you selected during the donation. Oh man, okay. Not me then. So I think what we can say is that Sindrin likes Brittany. Second London Naval Conference. I think that we can say that we want to leave the Naval Treaty. What does it actually give us? Is there any downside to leaving? Don't think so. Except for the fact it just costs us political power. I'm not too bothered. I'm quite happy to save my 25 points for now. Alright, so Alpine troops are now in position. We don't have any on that side, which is fine, I think. And then our Africa Corps is also in position. And because these guys are going to actually be aggressive, we're just going to right-click on the different field marshal, and that will switch them between the different field marshal army groups. I'm also going to change the colour, so my offensive field marshal is going to be purple. My defensive field marshal is going to be green. And then your colour is going to be yellow. Your colour is going to be white, because you're the Alpine troops. There we go. 2 more divisions, 3 more. We're going to assign them to the Alpine units. I think eventually I'm going to switch out the majority of your regular infantry with Colonial. Sodu has fallen ill, so he's now reduced bonuses for 30 days, but we're not at war, so that doesn't matter. I'll just let it run out. Everyone knows that Mordred's more of a Beyonce fan. Leaving creates world tension. Aha. Gotcha. And then we have lots of other options, like improving worker conditions, which would increase stability. Doing this early on would not necessarily be a bad thing. Although I think I still want to get Daniele, the industrial concern. Or possibly a theorist. Theorists generate experience, and they also increase the speed of completing battle plans. Do we have a superior firepower? We don't. Ah. See, theorists don't exist in Kaiserreich, so I'm not used to using these. So the doctrines that we probably should have gone for is either mobile warfare or grand battle plan, because we could have got a research bonus for either of those. But what we're instead going to do is grand fleet proponent. We'll start getting some air experience. Sorry, naval experience, not air experience. I was thinking about how can I get air experience.